What's going on, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I'll be reacting to was 3 terrifying true horror stories. This is from the channel My Animated Scary Stories. It just came out recommended for me when I got on YouTube, and I was like, why not? I think it was just uploaded too. Like I should have looked. I think it was. Well, I looked at. I think it was like 3 or 4 hours ago. So, and I saw it was fairly short. It was like 15 minutes. So, why not? Anyway, I'll put a link in the description down below so you can go check the channel out yourself. But anyway, here we go.
I was hired to do a catalog shoot for a national company. The shoot was scheduled for August of 2014 in rural Montana. When the time came, I flew in and was driven to a quaint lodge in the mountains in which the shoot was
It kind of
based
reminds
at.
me of
I was introduced to the lady
what's the
running the
name of that
shoot from the
cartoon?
company side. We had worked together once or twice in the past, and I was happy to be working with her again.
Yeah,
Her
a
and I
character
was
called
soon
Brandon
joined by her
Smalls. I
assistant.
can't remember the name of the cartoon.
The three of us spoke for a short time before I was shown to my accommodations. I had arrived late in the day, so after eating a small dinner, I turned in.
Home movies. That was
The next morning, everyone involved with the shoot, maybe 12 people in all, met in a large hall for breakfast. Upon the completion of our meal, myself, the lady running the shoot, and her assistant got into a jeep and went in search of shooting locations. The models and a couple of other people I don't remember followed us in another. After an hour or more of driving, I spotted a beautiful rocky outcropping and we set things up. The lighting was fantastic on that day, so very little extra work was needed to get the shots I was looking for. A few hours later, I was done with that location. It was time for lunch anyway. The jeep with the models returned to the lodge. However, my counterpart convinced me to check out a breathtaking area she'd seen on a walk the day before. She said she had arrived early in the morning and decided to take a walk before my plane landed. This sounded fine to me, and she insisted it wasn't that far. We'd be back for lunch soon after the others, no problem. After a 5-minute drive, we made it to the location. She led us about 100 yards down a trail that ended on a sheer ledge. No doubt it was a gorgeous spot, but I could see without the right light, the photos wouldn't be able to do it justice. I mentioned this, and she walked closer to the edge to get a better look. She went out much further than I would have recommended. However, I guess she was more occupied with her work than with her safety. After taking one step too many, the loose rock of the cliff broke free, causing her to tumble down the sheer cliff.
Backwards.
Her assistant, this cute and kind little girl, rushed forward, and if I had not stopped her, possibly would have followed her employer down the hill. Instead, I had her get a strong hold on me, and I slowly and carefully scooted toward the remaining ledge. I took in a big breath and let it out, then looked over to see the poor woman curled up about 75 feet from us. She didn't move at first, and I feared the worst. However, the longer I stared at her, I began to see her body make small, almost indistinguishable movements. I let her assistant know this and asked if she could drive. She said yes, so I told her to run back to the jeep and get help. Quicker than lightning, she ran down the trail, and a moment later I could see the jeep flying down the road in the direction of the lodge. Even if she was unable to respond, I wanted her to know help was on the way. I yelled down to her and could only hope she could hear what I was saying. The minutes seemed to drag on, but within half an hour a rescue team arrived to help. The 2 men were lowered down with a special stretcher and they attached her to it. When she was raised back to the top, it was clear that she was badly injured, but still alive. An ambulance took her away, and all was left was the waiting. The shoot was obviously on hold until a decision was made on how to proceed. It was ultimately decided to cancel, at least for the foreseeable future, and that was the end of my part in this awful mess. I received no news for a few months, but then I got a call from her. The last 9 weeks had been a near nightmare for herself and her family. The initial swelling on her brain was so bad she was put into a coma. This would eventually pass, but The long hours of being stuck in bed almost drove her crazy. The list of broken bones in her body went well into the double digits, and even at the time we are speaking, she was still working on crutches. Over the years since the accident, her and I have kept in contact. At the time of me writing this, she had 5 surgeries on various bones and parts of her body and will no doubt have several more before she dies.
Gotta be careful.
Despite the awful violence of the fall and the long, agonizing
Don't walk
convalescence
off
she suffered
cliffs
through,
backwards.
she still hasn't lost her sense of humor. On our last call just a week ago, she said if she could do it all over again, she might pick a shorter distance to fall from. A true heroine, if I've ever seen one.
Well, at least she's keeping a stiff upper lip.
For the longest time, me and my family lived next door to these absolute insane people that made our lives a complete living hell for like an entire year. They were pretty well behaved for the first few months after they moved in, but after a while, they started absolutely blasting music in the middle of the night. I'm not just talking about that gentle kind of bass thump that passively is annoying. I'm talking the kind of loud where you couldn't get a wink of sleep. The police had to be called out a few times to get them to turn it down, and even then, they confessed that they couldn't really do anything other than issue fines. They got progressively worse though, and it turned out half the reason the music was so loud was to mask the sounds of the mom and dad having these legit fistfights in the middle of the night. It wasn't even a case of it being a one-sided domestic abuse either. The dad sometimes had worse black eyes than the mom, and scratches all down his face where she'd obviously clawed him to death. They used to knock the 7 shades out of each other, but we didn't think they were too dangerous to anyone outside their own family. Once or twice my dad had gotten into confrontations with them about the smell coming from their backyard, or the fact that they used to blast music. The dad of this insane family had threatened to kill my dad once or twice.
Okay.
But none of us thought that he would actually go through with it, and thank God they didn't. Then for some reason it went really quiet over there for a few weeks, and it got to the point we thought that they'd actually moved. Only they hadn't moved at all. They were just keeping their heads down because they'd straight up killed their own daughter. Apparently she tried to run away from home and ended up in a shelter somewhere. They tracked her down, dragged her into their car one night, taken her somewhere secluded, and then beat her to death. I'm not sure they even meant to kill her. They just beat her up so bad that she ended up dying not long after that. That's why they'd been so quiet. They didn't want to bring down any attention on themselves when they were dealing with disposing of her body.
Why'd they bring her body back?
Basically camped out on our street for like a week after they'd been arrested. All kinds of forensic vans with people in those full-body white fabric suits going in and out all hours of the day. They were obviously looking for traces of the girl, but whether or not they found anything, I'm not really sure. I do know it was in the paper though, and like I said, I thank God the guy never did anything to my dad, because he did actually go on to murder someone.
Oh yeah, he would have definitely killed your
his
dad.
own daughter, at that.
If he killed his own daughter, he'd have fucked your dad up.
So, for the longest time in my teenage years, I earned a few bucks a week by doing babysitting work. It always made me giggle at how there are so many urban legends based around babysitting. The serial killer that stalks the unwitting teen, the call coming from inside the house, pretty much every Halloween movie in some manner that seems to present babysitting as the vocation of those with a death wish, when in reality, the only thing likely to kill you is the boredom. Sure, you get a bratty kid and it makes an evening a little more challenging, but you get a good one, and you're basically sat on the couch for hours on end, watching tedious cable TV shows and counting the minutes until the parents get home. Saying that, I did babysit for one family that ended in a frankly terrifying experience that ended up in me never, ever sitting for them ever again. It only happened once, but sometimes once is enough.
I guess it was.
So I arrive at this big old house a few blocks away from my parents' house at around 6:30 one Friday evening. The parents of the kid seem incredibly charming, and the kid is one of the more adorable little tykes that I've had the good fortune of minding. We go over a brief list of rules. what the kid is and isn't allowed to eat, how much I'll be paid, and how long I'll be sitting for, and that sort of thing. Then the parents head out to whatever fancy party that they had been planning on attending. All goes well for a little while. The kid wouldn't eat their carrots, but when I pretended that they were delicious by taking little bites myself, they soon broke into a smile and pretty much demolished the little bowl of hummus that we were sharing. With the kid fed, I gave her a bath, tucked her into bed, and that's that. It was honestly one of the easier jobs I'd had, right up until the sun started to go down. So once the kid's asleep, I head downstairs to order a pizza on the parents' dollar. Like I said, they were perfectly nice and polite when we first met, and it's not often a job comes with free food. Pizza arrives pretty quickly, and I even tipped the delivery guy a few dollars just to say thank you for being so fast. He's literally counting out the change in dollar bills when his head snaps to the side, like he's looking into the bushes at the side of the house. I ask him if everything is okay, peering out from the door to see what he's looking at. But there's nothing, just dark bushes. He says something along the lines of, sorry, guess I'm just tired. Mind's playing tricks on me. He laughs awkwardly, then walks back to his car while thanking me again for the tip. I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it was probably just a cat or something, right? So we got back inside to eat, have a full-on carb overload, and end up just lying there on the couch watching TLC. There were these big bay windows in the family's TV room.
Of course they're fucking
I had drawn the curtains earlier to block out the glare on the TV. Only I hadn't drawn them all the way, and there was a slight crack in the curtains that allowed me to see into the dark front yard.
The fucking window was open.
At one point, my eyes were drawn to this little crack, and I could swear I saw a dark shape where street lights were previously visible. I sit up, focusing my eyes on the shape and wondering if it were my mind playing tricks on me this time. When it moved,
I always talking about my mind playing tricks on me.
I had been looking at someone or something who
Close
was in
the
turn
windows.
looking at me through the big old windows. That's about when I started to freak out. I had been super chilled all evening, but now I was getting that distinctly paranoid feeling like someone was watching me, someone who didn't exactly have the best of intentions.
So somebody wanted to
I run around
kill
the
you
house
and
making sure
rape
all
your
the
corpse.
doors and windows are locked as a precaution, all before keeping their cordless phone as close as possible so that, if it came to it,
This
I
should
could
have
call
already
cops.
been locked.
I was sure I had seen someone, but the chances of them just vacating the area at the sight of flashing lights then returning
What's
later
up with these people who
could be a
they
huge
don't believe in like
possibility
screens
and
for
a
their
terrifying
windows
one
and
at
shit.
that.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
So I decided to shoot my shot only when it would be absolutely necessary.
Flies and shit all in your
Appearing to
house.
waste police time would not be doing me
Mosquitoes.
any favors.
Rapists.
I suppose I'm just trying to explain why I didn't call the cops right away. I've had friends of mine say that they have just called 911 right then and there, but I wasn't 100% sure of anything right then. It seemed shape,
but I'm a
like
minority.
Michael Myers pointing a knife at me.
You don't
Life
just
isn't
call
black
the
and
cops.
white most of the time, I was thinking. Anyway, I've secured all the windows and doors, shoved the cordless phone into my hoodie's front pouch, and have even positioned a Little League bat near the couch so that I was sort of armed. So by that point, I started to feel relatively safe again. If there was some creeper lurking outside looking to prey on a teenage babysitter, they would get one heck of a rude awakening when I waved my bat at them and screamed that the cops were on the way.
Yeah, when they pull a gun out.
So I lie back on the couch, but
you.
naturally find myself unable to
Yeah,
relax.
that bat ain't gonna do shit.
I open the curtains back up so I can see if anyone is hanging around in the front yard, keeping my eyes on the windows every so often in between watching whatever social train wreck is on TLC. Nothing
What
happens
is
for a
that?
while, and I start to think it was all just in my head or something. Right about the time I get up to wander into the kitchen to grab a drink of water. As I'm in there, I get that intense feeling that I'm being watched. I turn to see that same dark shape in the kitchen window, only this time, I rush into action. I hammer 911 into the phone, telling the dispatcher I need the cops to my address ASAP, that there's a home invasion in progress.
Wait, is he
Honestly,
in the
I
house?
don't know if it was the adrenaline or I was just sick of pervs thinking they can get away with stuff like that, but I just sort of charged. After screaming out that the cops were on their way, I ran into the TV room, grabbing the Little League bat and just ran for the back door which led out of the kitchen and into the backyard.
Oh, you idiot.
What happened next is frankly astounding. As I ran at the guy, baseball
It's
bat
the
in hand,
father.
ready to bash his brains out right there in the yard, I recognized him instantly. It was a face I'd seen before,
It's the father.
not long ago at all. It was the kid's dad. So long story short, the dad of the kid I'd been babysitting had, for whatever reason, decided he needed to see what kind of babysitter I was. So apparently he drove his wife to whatever party they were headed to, turned back saying he'd forgotten something, then decided to watch me over the course of about an hour or two to see if I was worth the cash that they were spending.
What?
Obviously, since no crime was actually committed, there was no one to charge. The dad offered me a sincere apology, even offered me double the cash just to finish the night up, but I refused.
Yeah.
No amount of money could have persuaded me to stay.
Kind of crazy shit.
Needless to say, I was very selective with who I babysat after that.
I guess depends on what time period it takes. You could just have cameras in your house, dude. If you that concerned. Like, what the fuck? Like, you outside just watches, like looking through the windows and shit. Nah, he was contemplating doing something to your ass, either murdering you or raping you or both. And that's weird. He gonna like, oh, I forgot. Like, why? Then don't hire someone as a babysitter. If you that concerned, when he got this person babysitter and he met them, if you were concerned about them babysitting your kid, then be like, you know what, we appreciate it, but we decided we're gonna stay in or something. Like, you know, we're gonna find somebody else. Like, why would you get this dude to be your babysitter, come back to the house, and then just stand outside just staring like a fucking lunatic at them? Like, and what were the neighbors? Maybe the neighbors did see him. They're like, he lives there. Like, why would you call the police on him? Like, the only reason he did because he couldn't tell who it was. All he saw was a dark figure just staring at him through the window. And clearly the guy didn't even care. I guess it's like it's his house. If that's the real reason, he feels like he ain't doing nothing wrong, so he just right up on the window, just stare out. And this dumb motherfucker, like, damn OBS. How you gonna get a bat and charge outside? Like, who do you think you are? I don't care who you are. I don't give a damn if you Butterbean or fucking Rampage Jackson or Kimbo, like whatever, Mike Tyson. Like, if somebody's outside your house and you don't know who it is, you don't know what they got, you don't even know how many of them there are, don't go outside your house like you some Billy Bad. I was like, what the fuck you think you are? This ain't no damn Steven Seagal movie. You can go out there and just fucking just throw everybody. You like, even as a teenager, I wouldn't do that shit, and I damn sure wouldn't do that shit as an adult. And I thought I was slick as possum shit when I was a kid. Like, I would not go out there with a bat. I wouldn't go out there with a gun. Cause like I said, you don't know what they got or how many of them. And he said he ran out into the yard. So you just ran past it. What if someone was like waiting with their back on the side of the door? Not next to the door. And just wait for you to run out past them and fucking just clock you in the back of the head with a crowbar. And fucking Jason Todd your ass. Like, just start beating it. Like, it's dumb. But it's interesting because that first story, that was just an accident. Like, she just walked off the fucking cliff. Well, she didn't walk off the cliff. The cliff, like, broke apart and she fell. But he said she fell like 70 feet. Like, god damn. Yeah, because I'm afraid of heights. So I don't get on that close to cliffs like that. But, I mean, I've been to areas where they had cliffs. But I don't walk out like that. on a cliff. Like shit is it gonna erode and fall apart, or I could slip, or what have you. I don't do that shit. Like I didn't like because in the Sears Tower they got like a it's not really. I guess you kind of say it's like an observation deck, but not really. But they have like a glass thing where you can step out onto the glass and kind of look straight down and stuff like that. I know it's strong glass. I know that. I was reinforced. It probably that glass would probably like bullets would bounce off of it. But I was just like, nah, I can't. I put one foot on it. That's all I did, and I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I can't. I like put my. I had my toes like on the glass, but my heels like only my toes like on the glass like that. It like took a picture. I couldn't do it. I was like, what if, even though it was multiple people's weight, and I'm sure they tested the weight. So, uh, I said, what if it just so happens that I'm on here and it just breaks off and just falls forward, or and then it didn't help because my friend, the people I was there with, they talked about, so, what if the glass just broke right under you for some reason? You just fell through, like falling through ice or some shit. I was I was thinking about staying there because I wasn't that concerned because I'm still in a building, but it just like I can't do it. I remember it was a game my brother had this. You basically walk like you walk. It's a VR like you're walking on a plank, and he has because he's working on his basement. He has like really long planks. He's building walls, and he was like, so he put them down and he was like, he liked having people do it, come over his house. Here, you got a game you could play, and I got on that, and I saw that thing. Even though I know it's VR, I know it's fake. I did it. I walked because he was like, you got to walk out to the edge and then walk back. It was at first I was like, I can't do it. I was sweating. Like I walked out to the edge, and then I was like, I can't. I just took it off. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So his childhood friend ended up coming over with her daughter, and she was like, "It's not real though. It's not real." I said, "Okay, so you put it on and let's see." Because she said she didn't have fear of heights, but you don't have that fear of heights. But if you get like on top of a building and you on a narrow edge, you might develop a fear. I mean, it's not like you're not used to that. But she got on it, and couldn't do it either. She ended up falling. I was like, I got further than you, and I have like a extreme fear. Well, it's all well, I won't say extreme because it's not a phobia, uh, but it's close. You know, like I seen a guy who had like it was like a phobia. Like he was shaking and me and started like sweating, and he was like, hey, like he was on the verge of tears. I was like, that's serious. Like don't they were trying to like push him, not push him like off the building. But they were trying to get him to climb the ladder. He had him like halfway, and he just couldn't do it. And then I was like, just leave that dude alone, because I climbed the ladder, but I got nervous because it was a fire escape, you know, and I got nervous because it was an old building. I shouldn't say guy, we were like teenagers, but it was an old building, and I heard like a ding, like a ding noise. We were walking up it, and I told him, I said, stop just because he was like stomping on the thing, and I just like, this is old. I don't know, it might collapse. I was like, it's bad enough to just fall off a building. Now I'm gonna fall off. Now I'm on a uh, fire escape that's metal that just collapsed all on me, you know. But yeah, and then I remember like because I wanted to see when I was playing the game my brother's VR game. I wanted to see how I felt like just to jump off the. So I went up in the. It's like go up in the elevator, and then the elevator opens, and it's just a plank going out into like out into nothingness. And I was like, I'm curious to see what happens when you hit the ground. So I just jumped off, and even though you can't, it almost like you can feel the wind blowing. You know, because you ever been up on some high, you feel like yourself swaying from the wind. And I jumped off, and it was like in that motion blur. And when you hit, it's like like a noise, and it made me like it made my knees like you jump and you catch yourself. I was like VR is very effective, very effective. It really plays on your mind. It plays with your brain, your mind. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction one. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You want me notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.